Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking because you're always looking for and finding the good in abundance today. Our cup runneth over with good, and that's because that's right, you have tuned into the Joy of Living podcast with your humble host, Barry Shore, and you tuned in for one reason and one reason only. And that's great. It's the best reason in the world, because you care the most in the entire world about you. And that's great, because when you are the best you make the world a better place. We need you. You build more bridges. You create more harmony. You spread more joy, happiness, peace, and love in the world. So thank you for being you and joining in this very moment about 349,613 people around the world, all have tuned in for that same reason, to become the best you possible. Because you know that on this show, The Joy of Living, we work with the three fundamentals of life. And these are, number one, life. Your life has purpose. Number two, and this is a good number two, when you live a purpose-driven life, you can go MAD. Now, MAD is a wonderful acronym. It stands for make a difference. Lead a purpose-driven life and you make a difference. And number three is to unlock the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms. And all of these three are designed for one reason only: to enable you to be happier, healthier, and wealthier. Who doesn't want that? Let's take a look at simple, everyday, common words and unpack them and find the secrets and the power. www. Right now, hundreds of thousands of people all over the world are listening and enjoying the joy of living. And it's being carried over this mystical, magical, mythical platform called the internet. Now, if you ask anybody, what does www stand for? Invariably, they'll tell you it has to do with the internet. And factually speaking, they're correct. But in our world, the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, www stands for what a wonderful world. And what is a word, right? WHATA. What a wonderful world. And a huge thank you to Louis Armstrong, Satchmo, for enabling that song to go viral and touch not just millions and tens of millions or hundreds of millions, but billions of people around the planet. And whenever you hear even the opening bars of what a wonderful world, what do you do right away? You can't help it. Just smile. Now, SMILE is one of the most important acronyms you'll ever utilize, internalize, and leverage in your life, because SMILE stands for seeing miracles in life every day. Now, pre-COVID, when I would speak in front of real human beings, and God willing, we'll get there again very soon, I had about 5,000 people in the audience just before COVID. And I was telling the story about Barry Shore and the idea of seeing miracles in life every day. And people raised their hands and say, hey, Barry Shore, I've been up for hours already. I haven't seen any miracles. And I asked them, are you here? Can you hear? Can you see? Can you stand? I can't. Can you walk? Do you have water, drink, food to eat, place to sleep, family, friends? Every single one of those is a miracle. And what's the simplest proof? Simple proof. 1 million people didn't get out of bed this morning. You know why? They died. By definition, if you're watching this or listening to it, you didn't. You're here. If you're here, you're alive. You have an obligation to live exuberantly. I got to tell you a quick story. My 8-year-old niece comes over to me a few weeks ago and she says, Uncle Barry, can we spell smile S-M-I-E-L? And I asked her, how come? She says, well, that sounds the same. Why not? And she said, because then it would stand for seeing miracles in everyday life. Out of the mouth of babes. What was she talking about? Imagine the following: standing up in the morning, hale and hearty, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. And that evening, I'm in the hospital, totally, completely paralyzed. And not from an automobile accident, not a spinal injury. A rare disease took over my body and rendered me what's called a quadriplegic. Nothing on my body moved. I was 144 days in the hospital. I was 2 years in a hospital bed, my own home. I couldn't turn over by myself. 4 years in a wheelchair. I had braces on both my legs, from my hips to my ankles. That was progress. Thank God today I'm able to be vertical and ambulatory with the help of a 7-foot walking wand, but I still can't walk up a curb by myself. I can't walk up a stair by myself. And I have help 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. But you hear my voice. Positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. It's all because of seeing miracles in life every day. Or as my niece said, seeing miracles in everyday life. But what was she doing? She was creating the kind of world she wants to live in. Now, CREATE is a wonderful acronym that stands for causing rethinking, enabling all to excel. Rethinking. We have a brain. Your brain has 100 billion brain cells and 120 trillion synapses connecting all those brain cells. And they're more than there for just decide what kind of latte you want this morning. The ability to do neuro-linguistic programming and recognizing that you are the one who makes the decisions in your life. The 6 most important words you'll ever hear in your life are choice, not chance, determines your destiny. Now I have to interrupt myself before we bring on our amazing guest and tell you that I do use a lot of 4-letter words. I even use the 4-letter FU words. And I do it because it's fun and the shock value. Now, the 4-letter words that we use, of course, are love, life, hope, grow, free, gift, swim, pray, play. 4-letter words. And the 4-letter FU word is fun. Fun, yes, F-U, capital N, capital N. So after the show, when you see your family and friends, you have a twinkle in your eye, a smile on your face. Remember, that stands for point your finger, say F-U, everybody. But remember to add right away, capital N, capital N. And they'll say, where'd you get that? I said, I listen to the joy of living. And Barry Shaw wants to teach the world how to F-U. Capital N, capital N. And then you can create a conversation, talk about joy, happiness, peace, and love in the world, creating the kind of world you want to live in. So before we bring on our fabulous guest, who's going to help transform the way you think about working in the business world with other people, I'm going to urge everybody to use the 2 most powerful words in the English language 3 times a day, consciously and conscientiously, for the rest of your life. From now forward, the rest of your life. Thank you. Here we go. Thank you. Those are the 2 most powerful words in the English language. Thank you. 3 times every day, consciously and conscientiously. Thanks stands for to harmonize and network kindness. To harmonize and network kindness. The Dalai Lama has been quoted saying, I've read in his writings, be kind whenever possible. And it's always possible, he says. Kind. Imagine the following. Being able to go back into our coffee shops without a mask, walking in and order your fancy latte for $5 and you sit down and somebody brings it to you. You say, thank you. You walk into the coffee shop, you order your fancy latte for $5, you sit down, a couple of minutes go by, nobody brings it to you. So you go to the counter and they say, oh, I'm sorry, we forgot, we're so busy, and we'll bring it right to you. You sit down, a couple more minutes go by, you still say, thank you. You're walking out of the coffee shop and it's raining out. Somebody holds the door open for you. You say, thank you. You're walking out of the coffee shop and somebody slams the door on you. You say, thank you. You're in traffic. You're late for an appointment. Somebody cuts you off. You say, thank you. You get up in the middle of the night and you stub your toe and it hurts. You say, thank you. To harmonize and network kindness. Kind stands for keep inspiring noble deeds. And I can't think of anybody right now that does inspire noble deeds. And I want to share with you an amazing, wonderful Jay Fiset. Jay, say hello to 349,613 people around the world.
Hello, Barry, and thank you. I truly appreciate you. You have energy beyond belief. That is, I'm thrilled to be here.
When was the last time somebody said F you to you and you smiled?
Well, in your context, yesterday, and in other contexts, not so long ago.
Okay. Well, I am so happy to have Jay here. As you can read, or if you're listening, Jay is a master. He has utilized his energy and force for good to be able to share with other beings the ability to work in harmony and create what people call, for want of a better term, joint ventures. He is JV on steroids, and he has done something that he calls JVology, because ology means the study of joint ventures. So we're going to ask the doctor himself, Dr. J. He's a DJ. Dr. J, we're going to talk about many things. Just by the way, if I started telling you all the CV stuff about him, that's his curriculum vitae, it would take too long. Suffice to say, trust me in this. He not only knows what he's talking about, he lives it, he serves, that's the key. He serves to bring about an evolution in the business process so that people can live in harmony, because that's called love. Love stands for living on vibrating energy, the vibrational plane. When you're in vibrational plane, then you're in harmony and everything moves along in a purposeful, positive, powerful, pleasant way. So less me, more you, Jay. Let's just jump right in and talk about, let's start with the easy stuff. The art and science of joint ventures.
I love that. I just have to say, I love how your brain works. I don't think I've heard this many acronyms in this short a span of time in my entire life. So my brain is still trying to track them all, Barry. You have clearly put some effort into that. So, the art and science of joint ventures, I think if we were to put context around this related to your community, is that in all of my businesses, in everything that I have done for the past 35 years, is that we do one thing and one thing only, which is help people to create conscious communities of choice. And joint ventures are just a way to create conscious communities of choice in our business. And, in a nutshell, to me, the art of joint ventures is this thing called relationships, of how to connect with human beings, how to understand what they want, what they need, who they are, what they how they see themselves in the world, and to truly and genuinely get behind them as a champion, as a support person to help them bring their mission to the world. And, that's the art piece of relationships and connecting human beings. And, I always tease people, it's like the beautiful part of joint ventures is that you get to work with these amazing human beings who are up to great things in the world. And the challenging part of joint ventures is you get to work with these amazing human beings who are up to big things in the world. And those two things.
Wait a minute, I want to just have you pause, not stop, because what you just did is exactly the genius of life. It's exactly the same thing. Mm-hmm. You get to do this and you get to do this. And it looks like, yeah. And it looks like, ah.
At the same time.
Both are correct. And I say to everybody listening, and thank God there are many people listening all over the world, most of them under the age of 38. So they're a little younger than.
I was going to say, so you and I are the old folks.
Yes. And well, that's the genius of being older, is that you can begin to tell people, look, we have made errors and we want to avoid those. And we're going to show you pathways to success. And you use a lot of C words. Let's use some of I love some of your C words: conscious, community, choice, champion. I want to delve a little deeper into the word community, because for me, it's a beautiful word. And there's another word that goes along with it, which is called business. Let's call it a business community, because in both of these words, you're going to see something, Jay, that and everybody knows, but until you point it out, they don't know it. When you spell community, the U comes before the I. Mm-hmm. And the same thing in business. When the U comes before the I, you can create what you just called the conscious community of choice and realize the potential of fulfilling the dream. So talk a little bit more about community. What does that mean?
Well, I sometimes also, I'll give it a whole different frame of reference, is that I sometimes call our JVLG community, sometimes we call it a tribe. Most people call it a family. But I'll often describe it as like an entrepreneurial safety network. And this whole idea of entrepreneurship in business is that, people really have a lone wolf / lone ranger approach to it. We even hear it in language of things like self-made man, self-made millionaire, all this stuff, which I think is complete bull in every way that we talk about. It's frankly not possible. But so to me, this idea of choosing deliberately who we want to be in relationship with in the context of business, knowing that business is fraught with ups, downs, ins, outs, difficulties, and all of those pieces. And if we don't invest the time, the heart, the energy, the love, the care, the concern into building that network, when, by the way, I'm a Saskatchewan farm kid, so I do use 4-letter words. But not like you do. So I'm just going to say it. So
by the way, farm is a 4-letter word.
Yes. And on the farm, we often shoveled a bunch of other S words. So when shit hits the fan,
Well, that's called shift. See,
Yes.
Jay understands shift happens. Most of the people in the world drop the F and they think it's the other way. But Jay learned that shift, that's what he was using the pitchfork for. He was shifting.
From one point to another point, yes. And so when that difficult stuff happens, I actually think that one of the single greatest contributors to failure, challenge, and difficulty, not just in business, but in life, is not having that network of people that you can count on, that you show up for them, they show up for you, you know this is going to happen. And it is just it alters who and how we are in the world when that occurs. And just a little sidebar, Barry, so my dear wife and I were in San Diego. We were leading a facilitator training program. And when we came back, we had to be in quarantine. So we're on like day 10 of our 14-day quarantine. And the Canadian government is phoning and texting and calling and are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? And so they're like, well, how are you getting your food? And I said, well, Auntie Lynn takes care of that. Well, what are you doing with the kids? Well, Auntie Lynn drives them around. And the woman was like, you have no idea how lucky you are. It's like, I talk to people all day long who have nobody who can do these things for them. Like they are stuck and they're trapped and they're indifferent. And it's like, well, the truth is there's a whole bunch of people who do that for us, but it doesn't even occur to us that's, well, of course we're grateful for it, but it is the standard of our lives. And until it sometimes gets pointed out, it's like, darn, you're pretty lucky. Sometimes it's easy to miss.
Jay is the point of the spear when it comes to the understanding, the unfolding, the deep knowledge of what he just called network. And I wanted to share with you, Jay, I think you'll like this because you and I are simpatico in certain things that we love to read and do and feel and be. And it's for the whole world. There's a word that's spelled A-L-O-N-E. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it's mispronounced. Everybody's been taught the wrong way of pronouncing it. They all pronounce it the other way. They put the own in it. And really, the way to pronounce it is all one.
Mm-hmm. Love that.
All one. This is what Jay just talking about. It's the ability to build a net of like-minded, caring, involved beings on the planet. And today, by the way, interesting enough, more so than when Jay was growing up on the farm and shifting stuff from one place to another, when Barry was growing up in a town in Boston, Massachusetts, the ability to reach out to beings around the planet who are in harmony. Mm-hmm. The people that are listening to this show have consciously and conscientiously tuned in because they want to hear these messages of joy and happiness and peace and love and harmony. And again, I urge everybody to understand anything you want to know about Jay, just go to my website. Here's how we do it. You go to the website, barryshow.com. Everything is there. So you just have to lean in and be transformed by what he's going to share with us about, again, joint ventures. They rock when you do them the way he's going to outline. So you talked about the art. Let's talk about the science of joint ventures, the steps that are involved, which I presume one of them is make sure you check your heart rate and make sure it's beating and make sure that you are a caring individual, because without a heart, you can't be involved with joint ventures or JVology. So let's talk about the science, please.
Okay. So do you want to hear a silly story about just the heart of this process?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So years ago, and just to put some context around this, gang, how I became an expert in the joint venture field was quite accidental. If you'd have told me I was doing this 6 years ago, I'd have said you fell and hit your head. There's no way. What transpired was, from our personal development company, we decided we wanted to do online work. That online work didn't really particularly sell well. And it was like, what on earth is going on? We finally find this little piece. We trained all of our coaches, all of our facilitators, all of our trainers to lead mastermind groups to help people grow into the transformations that they would taste. And this is this internal training process. And then through a weird turn of events, I let my internal training process, gave it to somebody who was having trouble with their mastermind. And that gave birth, from something that didn't exist. This was no external thing. We went from $0 to $2.6 million US in 14 months, quote, accidentally. And then it was like, wow, how'd you do that? And the answer was always, well, through joint venture partnerships and relationships. I had some astounding partners. It's like, can you show me how? And it's like, no, we don't do that. And then after we were asked 7,892 times, it's like, well, maybe I'll tell you if I like you. And that gave birth to something that we called, it's now called the Joint Venture Summit. It used to be called the Banff Summit because we held it in Banff, Alberta.
Which is beautiful, by the way.
Oh,
amazingly beautiful.
One of the most beautiful places on planet Earth. Like,
God willing, we'll all be able to travel again normally as humans, and people will be bamfing again.
That's exactly right. So anyway, what transpired through that is that we started this, what I'm going to call sort of high-level mastermind group and summit. That was application only because there's limited seats and all the rest of it. So we would do this application process, Barry. And as this went on, most of the people I couldn't say yes to because they weren't quite ready. But occasionally there'd be somebody who is like not quite ready, but is a rising star. And it's like, you know what, you're going to come. It's all good. So after doing this, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years, we did it a couple times a year. After doing that, finally somebody says, like, look, I am confused by your application process. Like, do you want to know how many people are on my list? Do you want to know what my reach is? Do you want to know all those sorts of things? And it's like, yes, I do. And for the most part, that stuff doesn't matter. And it's like, well, then what matters? You got to tell me. So I know. And so I said, look, just, you're already in, so don't worry about this. But here's what this really boils down to is at the end of the day, would I have you at my house to have a glass of wine with and to play ping pong? And if I'd have you at my house to have a glass of wine and play ping pong, it's all good. And it really doesn't matter where you're at in your business because you're going to be sharp enough that you're going to navigate your way. And if I wouldn't have you at my house, it doesn't matter if you are a billionaire or you're not coming. That's how that goes. This is it. So that whole thing of we have to share values. We have to believe the same fundamental things about humanity and about our mission. We have to, please hear this, put the client's needs first. We've got to come from a grounding of abundance, and we've got to have this what I'm going to call healthy interdependence. And all three of those things have to be at play for somebody to actually be able to show up and even remotely benefit from joint ventures. Because if those things aren't at play, it's going to be a fiasco. And that's there's also another F word that goes with fiasco that isn't the fun one. When the values aren't aligned. So we are always looking for those three things, and a bunch of our training, at JVology Live and in our global lounge community, all sorts of things, we go back and reinforce over and over again. So what's the grounding of abundance? How do we make sure clients' needs are first? And how do we play with this beautiful thing called interdependence? So that's really the first part of the science.
The reason Jay mentions three is because he knows that in the eternal world, everything is built on three. If you want to have something that is stable, that is capable of building upon and creating scale and literally changing the world, you need three items. Now, I just want to mention to you the three things you've always talked on, but you talked about the how, the who, and the wine. Because this is why Jay is a winner. Because how stands for helping others win.
Yep.
Who stands for winners help others. That's the healthy interdependence. And wine stands for winners inspire never-ending endurance or enthusiasm. That's the wine we like to imbibe.
I like
and
that.
When you do that, you're sharing. Share stands for spreading happiness and rejuvenating energy. That's that's the essence of Jay and what he and his wife and his team have built. Jay is the example, the perfect example of, well, I didn't do it because I can't. An I alone is one letter, and I can't do it. It does take a team.
Yeah.
Now, team.
And we're blessed to have good people.
Yeah, because without it, you're not going to be able to build. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you might have something there, but you're not going to create what you're doing, which is influencing the world. You see, Jay is mad. he's making a difference. And that's what he wants to do. When he bounds out of bed in the morning, shouting, Eureka, abundance, I love Barry Shore. And then his wife says, huh? What are you talking about? Okay, anyway, doesn't say that every day. But when he bounds out of bed.
But I will tomorrow, I promise.
When he does bound out of bed, it's because he has incorporated his two friends called Tom and Bob. Tom is top of mind, and Bob is be of benefit. He knows that as long as top of mind is about service, that he becomes being of benefit, then everything in the day becomes filled with what he is. Jay stands for, by the way, I was doing this before you came on. Jay is, I want you to do one for yourself as well, but for me, Jay stands for Joy Awakens Youth. Because youth is what you're all about.
I may well borrow yours. Yours is pretty darn good.
Wait a minute. If I'm called pretty darn good by Jay Fiset, I'm not just pretty darn good. Wow. Them's loving words, baby. Okay, let's go a little bit deeper in certain things and get to the nitties and the gritties of what it means. Okay, there's a joint venture. Barry Shore has something that is really capable of transforming people's lives and eliminating stress. Okay. Yes. And Jay says, you know something, Barry Shore, I love that. I have a business that really wants to help people transform their lives. And I have about 60 to 80,000 people in my world. You have about 20 to 50,000, just making a smaller number in your world. Mm-hmm. How do we mesh? What do we do? Because I have a smaller list than you, and you're more famous than me. What does it happen? How you create that synergy that literally works together when it looks like they're unequal partners, because they're really not. In other words, you can't do business together unless both see each other as generating benefit for each other.
Yeah. So this is a big question, and I'm just going to back up the bus.
That's why I make the big bucks.
Exactly. So I'm going to back up the bus a little bit in terms of my view about it. First and foremost, there are lots of people that have this, oh, I'm bigger, they're smaller. How do we do this? What's going to be equitable? What's going to be fair? All the rest of it. And big picture, I'm just not even a fan of that way of thinking, although it's incredibly common. So first and foremost, I would just sort of like set that aside. Here's how we go about it at JVology, is that we try and get people to really, truly understand the problem that they solve and for who. Okay. So regardless of if my list is 5 people and your list is 5,000 people, if we are perfectly clear about the problem that each of us solves and for who, then we can begin to adopt what we teach at JVology, this idea of upstream and downstream partners. And really what the idea is most entrepreneurs are so narrow focused about trying to get a client. It's like, hey, there's somebody that has a problem. I said, oh, there's somebody that has this problem. There's totally like, and we're trying to do this, what I'm going to call this, they think in retail and they think in conversation and they think in customers. And our stand is that's kind of a silly way to run a business. It can work, but it's incredibly time consuming, not
draining.
So profitable.
I use the word draining.
Yes.
And by the way, are a fountain. You see, the digital world is you're either a drain or a fountain. Yep. Jay is a fountain. That's an F word. Most people are in the drain world, and he helps transform them from drains into fountains.
Well, you know, in a whole nother conversation we should have at another time, Barry. I actually wrote a best-selling book called "Reframe Your Blame: How to Be Personally Accountable," which we could just simply say
everybody's going to learn about it. So I just go to my site; it's there. It's not only a book; it's great. It doesn't forget that it's bestseller. It's great for you.
And it truly is. But the whole book is how to become a fountain instead of a drain. Like that's the book. But going back to this idea of this upstream and downstream stuff, which is if I'm clear about the problem that I solve and for who, the thing that makes the most difference in business is like, what if we, instead of, focusing on the retail and looking for a person that has the problem I solve, we start looking upstream. So if you were thinking you're at a river and the river is going by, and occasionally there might be a client in that river if you can catch them. But why not just like look upstream and say, hey, right this very second, there are 100 people, 1,000 people, 1 million people, 20 million people, 100 million people who are in the process of discovering they have the problem I solve. They're reading a book, they're taking a course, they bought a new computer, they moved to a new city, they had a child, they sent a child to school. There's something going on that is actually causing, and by the way, three ways I like to look at this, is that we are looking for the people, the organizations, the structures that cause or reveal or diagnose the problem that we solve. So suddenly, instead of looking for one particular retail client, we are beginning to build relationships with the people, the organizations, the structures, the associations that actually cause the problem we solve, reveal the problem we solve, or diagnose the problem we solve.
I want to ask you to pause on that very note. Everybody buckle up, hold on. We're going upstream with the most amazing being on the planet, Jay Fiset, and he runs JVology, which is good for you. Be right back after these brief messages. Don't go away. There's more Jay on the other side of this. Hello, everybody. As you may know, I'm 72 and recovering from being a quadriplegic at age 55. Oh my. Now, to stay active, I swim 2 miles per day, 6 times per week. So you can imagine I know a thing or two about aches and pains. And until recently, I thought my aches and pains were a fact of life I had to deal with every day. Just part of the process of getting older and staying active. And then I tried 100% drug-free Relief Factor. Now, I've been taking their convenient packs 3 times a day, and I got to tell you, everybody, I am feeling noticeably better. Relief Factor is giving me more oomph and less The secret is its 4 key ingredients. Each one supports a different metabolic pathway that your body uses to respond to the inflammation that is the cause of many hip, back, shoulder, and knee pains. If you have everyday aches and pains too, remember, Relief Factor is 100% drug-free and designed to be taken every day so you can get out and stay out of pain. Now, to make it as easy as possible for you to try Relief Factor, they created the 3-week quick start discounted program for $19.95. That's it, $19.95. So do what I did. Go to relieffactor.com/joy and order a 3-week quick start for yourself. You'll be glad you did. Again, claim your 3-week quick start for only $19.95. Go to relieffactor.com/joy. You'll thank me. You'll be glad you did. Best wishes. Bye now. Imagine the kind of place you would want to shop for your favorite fur baby pet. HonestPets.co. Well, you found it. HonestPets.co. Not .com, .co. This is your go-to spot for the best, the cleanest pet treats that exist anywhere on the planet. All of the brands go through a rigorous review to make sure they meet the high standards of cleanliness, health benefits, and naturalness. This site was started by a husband and wife team, and it's veteran-owned, and that care about pets, especially dogs and cats, and coming soon, bird treats. These are very nice young people who really care about making a difference because a portion of proceeds go to support veteran organizations with a focus on service dogs. This is the place where you want to go. You want to tell your friends this has the finest, yummiest, freshest, all-natural treats and stuff for your fur baby. So go there, honestpets.co. honestpets.co. Do it now. Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking because you're always looking for and finding the good. We have found good in abundance in a 2-legged, amazing Canadian shift stuff on the farm. Jay Fiset is talking about fishing, going upstream, and looking for situations that cause, reveal, or diagnose issues. Because when you solve problems, you have people beating a path to your door. So again, Jay, more about those places that cause, reveal, or diagnose.
Perfect. So here's the thing. I'm perfectly clear about what I do. The problem I solve is I solve the problem of expensive leads, not enough leads, poorly qualified leads for entrepreneurs. That's part of what we do at JVology. So if I look upstream for me, I'm looking for people who are in business, who realize that they don't have a steady lead stream, who just burned a bunch of money on Facebook and it didn't turn out the way that they had hoped to.
Can you imagine?
It seems so odd, right? It seems crazy. I'm looking for folks who have just created a website that they want traffic for. I'm looking for folks who just wrote a book that they want distributed. So I help with that process. So my upstream partners are all the great people that cause, reveal, or diagnose the problem I solve, which is lead generation. So I'm looking for people that help people get into business. I'm looking for people that help people write webinars. I'm looking for people that help people make digital programs. I'm looking for people that help host digital programs. So instead of this one-on-one piece looking for a retail conversation, I simply go to those folks and I say, hey, look, we know you do spectacular work at creating and hosting digital programs. We also know that the vast majority of digital programs only sell a few members. They don't actually get used well. Why don't you, when you're complete with them, why don't you send them to JVology, where I will introduce them to 500 other folks, 1,000 other folks who would be interested in sharing their message with the world. And when you send them to me and they choose to buy something, I will pay you a referral commission, or I will put you on my stage, or I will have a sponsorship, or I will do some version. Doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's equitable to both parties. And please know that when you refer those folks to me, I will take care of them in the same way I will take care of my mother. So if you're open, we could do this. And what that does is it provides a steady stream of perfectly qualified leads for free forever, so long as you can maintain and continue and strengthen that relationship. And that's the upstream model. And if, my dear friends, if nothing I say makes any sense out of this, it would be this: stop looking for an individual client and go build relationships with the people who cause the problem you solve, reveal the problem you solve, diagnose the problem you solve, and your lead generation issues will be done forever.
So when Jay says forever, he's really saying forever. There's something that many years ago, before you were born, Jay, and certainly before most of the people on this watching and listening to this podcast were born, there was something called salespeople.
My bad.
And I was raised and taught by some of the best in the world, by the way. And in the old school, we used to do things called referrals. See, in those days also, people got hung up on making a sale and knocking on another door or another phone call to make another sale. And not doing the most basic idea, which is, now that you bought something from me, we have a relationship. By definition, you like me because you bought my item, you gave me money, you trust me. Tell me, who in your bowling league or in your fly fishing group or in your meditation group, your mastermind group, who do you think would benefit from what we just did? That's called referral. When you have in the insurance business, if you get 400 clients, you never have to work again. Because everybody is sending you. So what Jay has done with his team is to put that on steroids, make it fit the 21st century and some version of it. And as he says, succinctly, directly, concisely, and clearly, has to be concise and clear, find the people who cause, reveal, diagnose problems that you solve. And when you solve problems for people, guess what? They like you. If they like you, they want to say, "What may I have some of that, please? May I? Oh, you want to write a check? Fine. How do I do it?" Am I right, Jay? That's what happens.
1,000%. And the other interesting part about that whole element that you're talking about in terms of solving problems is that an interesting shift happens if you do this well. Because when we stay in the retail conversation, just trying to find people who we can solve their problem, is that is very transactional, and we get seen and defined by being a service provider. And when we live this JV model well, and by the way, I haven't even talked about downstream, but think of it from this perspective. when I roll out my solutions, I cause a whole bunch of other problems. I may as well set up strong referral relationships where if I send them leads and they buy something, I get paid money, which by the way is pure profit, goes to the bottom line. It's beautiful. But this idea of if we do this well, we change how our clients, customers, friends, family, community, tribe see us. We are no longer a service provider. We become a trusted advisor. And when we become a trusted advisor, that is where the context of our entire being and business shifts. And that's where the struggle disappears. And, our phrase is JVology, the perfect mix of people, fun, and profit. And that happens when you become a trusted advisor.
Let's say those words again. People, fun, F-U, capital
Yep.
M, capital N, and profit. And by the way, Jay spells profit P-R-O-P-H-E-T, because he is.
A dear friend of mine, Steve Olsher, who I think you probably know, Steve, used to do internet profits spelled in that manner. Yes.
Yeah, because that's what we're talking about. See, he is prophetically offering to the world, the formula or the formulae that work. See, what Jay is discussing here today is not something he thought about, and gee, it's an interesting idea. We're talking about tested, proven, with not just tens, not just hundreds, but thousands of businesses and business owners who have been able to shift. They now pronounce that F in there. They know how to shift their thinking just a little bit, just enough. And they understand that business, what I call, Jay, is called T&T, transactional and, like you said, transformational. See, transactional is something that happens. Okay, one person purchases from another person. They only do it because they want the solution to the problem. But it's transformational for both people because you created a relationship. If you sell something to someone or someone buys something from someone, there's now a transformation in the relationship. It's no longer just an exchange of currency or something else. And that T&T is what happens with JVology. See, that's the genius of what Jay does. That's why I am so honored and humbled that you've made the time to come onto the show here and really share what it is that you do, because everybody is in business. I don't care if you're an employee, you're in business. The business is called you. Remember, the whole premise of this show, the joy of living, is about you becoming the best you possible. That's what you want. You want to be the best you. If you're an employee, you should be thinking that you're really an entrepreneur. If you're an entrepreneur, you should really be thinking, how do I build nets? Nets cause networking. So wherever you are in this space in the world, you're not alone. You're part of the all one. And that's what JVology works with and teaches. Jay, let's talk about the other side. Why do many, I don't know if the word is many, but why do, in people's ideas, why do joint ventures fail? I think the obvious reason would be, well, they didn't enter it from heart to heart. They didn't understand that it's transactional, transformational. In other words, they didn't have the right process entering in. They were both looking to make more sales as opposed to creating a flow. But from your perspective, because you've seen it hundreds of times, why do joint ventures fail?
Well, I think, there's three things about fail in terms of this domain, because they fail oftentimes before they ever start, which is people can't get a partner, generally speaking, because they didn't, and we've been saying this entire process, Barry, but we have two core values at JVology. The first of which is we're better together, which just acknowledges that we as human beings are required, designed, and have only survived when we actually collaborate and bring together our network, wisdom, resources, experiences to serve and support one another. Like if they don't believe that, JVs aren't going to work. Then the next part where it fails before it starts is we also have this value, which is a joint venture is a game of I'll go first. So a joint venture is a game of I'll go first. And if I'm not willing to go first, if I'm not willing to contribute, if I'm not willing to connect, if I'm not willing to become relevant, if I'm not willing to actually move the needle in terms of value, then there's no way in which I'm going to attract partners. The only partners I can possibly attract from that perspective are other takers. And you put two takers into a JV relationship, and that is a fiasco on wheels.
Woo! Everybody, if you've been leaning in and you didn't fall off your chair because I asked you to put on your seatbelt, what you just received will benefit you for your life, because it exists not just in a business situation, it exists in a marriage, exists in a family, exists in friendships. And if it doesn't exist in you, then you're missing out on what we call life. Life, by the way, is a 4-letter word. Living inspirationally for eternity. I want to go back over to what you just said here. There's a very famous phrase in business. Change is great. You go first. You've heard that, right? Well, that's what it's about.
Well, change, by the way, that isn't so uncommon in marriages or other things as well, but yes.
Right. People oftentimes get married and they get into a situation after a year or 2 or 3 or even 6 months. Well, but she or he is not doing what, well, hello, you go first. You wash the dishes. Don't ask, can I help you? You wash the dishes. You do something nice. You send a note to your wife. You send your husband a thank you note. I mean, whatever it is, you go first. Yes. If you're willing to say, I'll go first, then you're putting aside what's called the ego. You're going to love this one, Jay. Ego is an acronym that stands for edging God out.
That's a good one. I like that.
The more me, the less God, and everything knows that God is the essence of goodness. I don't care what you call God, but the point is that if it's just you, you're just a bunch of piece of puff, and every pinprick will do it. So the point that Jay is going is better together. Not only is it better in Jay's world, and again, he studies this, ology. Hello, everybody, look it up. It's that this stuff works. You see, if you have a proven method for success and you choose not to follow it, we call that a fool. That's a 4-letter word. Yeah. But if you have a proven method for success and you follow it, we call that a winner. Everybody loves winners, especially winners. Winners enjoy themselves. You have to literally enjoy yourself in life to be able to be a winner, because winners help others. Remember we said that? That's the who. Helping others win is the how. And that's why people came to Jay and said, how do you do this? How do you do this? How? Mm-hmm. And he finally, he woke up. And he's been studying it and perfecting it. Yes.
I'm just smiling because there's so much there to unpack. So in terms of failing JVs, number one, one of the ways they fail is which they never start because of those things that we just talked about. The next way in which JVs fail is that, and this is a little, I don't want to go too far down this road, but the next way is that people overcommit without the resources to execute. And it's not really malicious or any of those sorts of things. It's just that, I say this phrase all the time, is that a steady stream of perfectly qualified leads for free. Now, let's be clear about this. It's not really free. It's free in that we don't have to pay Facebook. It's free in that we didn't pay for a billboard. It's free in that we didn't we didn't write a check for it. But it takes time, it takes team, it takes relationship building, it takes investment of who somebody is. And I think what happens sometimes that people just think is like, oh, Bob said he'd promote, or Bob said he'd be on my podcast, and Bob said he'd do a Facebook post, and Bob said a lot of things. But then Bob also has life challenges. Bob also caught COVID. Bob also had to take care of his aging mother. Bob also, there's a whole bunch of other things. And stuff gets missed because they don't understand that every one of those pieces requires a person, some time, some execution, strategic planning, balancing with the rest of our business, balancing with the rest of our life. So it has a cost. It's just not directly money. So I think that's the next piece where people make agreements with people who don't necessarily have the systems, the processes, the structures to follow through. And please hear this, it's 99% of the time not malicious. It is not malicious. So don't get your, you know what, in a knot because Bob didn't follow through. You call Bob and you say, hey, something seemed to be awry. Can I help in any way, shape, or form? What's up? Do we need to negotiate or juggle? Like when you have that system in place, it's like you'll be astounded at how people step up to serve. So I think that's the next place where things go awry, is that people say yes to things without necessarily the team, the structure, the know-how, the execution, the strategic planning, all of which we help people with at JVLG Live, our live events, and on those sort of things. Like, let's just put a system in place for this so this can be easier and smoother and more joyful.
And that's the genius of the reframing, as he talks about, not complaining, not blaming, and recognizing up front that it is about a connection called the mind, the heart, and time. Mm-hmm. See, when you recognize that your mind was the one that's running everything, the heart wants to be of benefit. People want to do good for other people. Yes. You must also have that resource called time, which is, by the way, the most valuable and the least, how should we say it, elastic item that we have. Mm-hmm. Because time has many definitions in my world as an acronym, also a great four-letter word. But it's the ability to recognize that sometimes, well, I wrote a check to Facebook for $1,200. I get X number of ads. And if it works, great. If it does, okay. But there's a distance there. I just want to, and yeah, you might want to blame Facebook. Okay, fine. Don't blame anytime. Don't complain. But the point is, I wrote a check. But if I have a relationship with Bob or Tom, and they didn't fulfill, well, the nerve of those people, and people get upset. And you have to learn never to be upset, because it's all part of a learning process that enables you to become a fountain, and make sure that when you commit to something, then it's a commitment. And the genius of life, Jay is saying, is that, you know something, it may be better to commit to a smaller yes at the beginning, mm-hmm. so that you can gain a bigger yes eventually. Because if you follow what Jay is talking about and you read his books, attend his workshops and laboratory, I'm going to say these words out loud. You cannot fail. You cannot fail. Not possible. Jay won't let it happen. You won't let it happen. The network won't let it happen. You can't fail. That's what he said about better together. It doesn't just mean, yeah, that's great. You can't fail. Yeah. Isn't that a wonderful mindset?
And I believe that success is inevitable when we put the network, the structure, the support, and our butts on the line. Like, get moving. And it may not work out immediately. In fact, I was having this conversation with, it was on Clubhouse, doesn't matter who it was with, but we were talking about the time frame for true JV success. And, it seems, we live in an instant gratification society, and, people want to, attend an event, meet somebody, and next week we're doing 7 figures. And it's like, no, and I always tell people, I spent about a year and a half, almost 2 years building relationships, going first, contributing, before we landed on this Mastermind to Millions course and program that then took off. And it looks like it was like goodness gracious, it was like a 6 month, we had 1 weekend, we did $1 million. And it looked like that was like this very fast thing that happened. It's like the training program was in development for 20 years. The relationship building process to have some of those big heavy hitters support us was another 2 years. People just see the little thing on top. And of course, now I could get all cynical a little bit about marketing.
No, let's not get cynical. Stay positive, because you're a fountain. But what Jay is urging everybody to do is the following: learn how to breathe.
That's a good way.
Here's why: because everybody, well, what are you talking about, Barry? I'm breathing. Of course I'm breathing. I'm alive. But what Jay is urging us to do is the following. That's called lung breathing, shallow breathing. What he's urging everybody to do is to learn how to do something called diaphragmatic breathing. Now, most people in the world can't pronounce diaphragm. They don't know where it is. So I call it tummy breathing. Breathe in deep from your nose into your tummy and let it out slowly. And when you can do that 4 times in a row, you have literally shifted your whole being. And now you'll begin to understand what Jay is talking about. Oh, time. The slow is a wonderful 4-letter word. Fast is a 4-letter word. They all come about in their own time.
Yeah. And without getting skeptical, don't believe everything you hear in people's marketing messages. Some of the greatest successes and the overnight successes are 30-year stories. if we hear the whole story.
Right. And by the way, it's even more fun that way. FU, capital N, because you get to savor it. You get to appreciate it more, as we do with you, Jay. Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask you 3 quick questions. You ready?
Okay. All right.
Number 1, will you come back again?
Of course. I love this conversation. Your energy is absolutely infectious, and in a second.
Woo! Thank you. Number 2, you have 80 seconds only to answer this question.
Okay.
What is your most fervent desire? 80 seconds.
Oh, my most fervent desire is to play my role in terms of being an instrument, helping human beings wake up to their mission, their purpose, and their contribution on planet Earth, and whatever happens after that.
You're wonderful. Now, I'm going to give you a hug in front of now we're up to 360,000 people. Am I allowed to give you a hug in front of 360,000 people around the world?
Of course.
Let me tell you what HUG stands for. Harmonizing Unlimited Giving. Here we go. Harmonizing Unlimited Giving. 1, 2, 3.
That was freaking awesome.
Remember, everybody, you've tuned in consciously and conscientiously to The Joy of Living with your humble host, Barry Shore. And you did this because you care most in the entire world about you. YOU, and that's great. Just like you learned today, better together, go first. And you will incorporate the 3 fundamentals of life. Number 1, life. Your life has purpose. You lead a purpose-driven life. You go MAD. In this case, MAD is a great acronym that stands for make a difference. Be like Jay. Be yourself. Make a difference. Unlock the power and the sequence of everyday words and terms like WWW. What a wonderful world. Smile. Seeing miracles in life every day. Or, as my 8-year-old niece says, seeing miracles in everyday life. Create the kind of world you want to live in, causing rethinking, as Jay says, enabling all to excel. Shift happens. Pronounce that F, and then you'll learn that choice, not chance, determines your destiny. Use 4-letter words. Life, love, hope, grow, free, give, swim, pray, play, and tell the world, F you. Capital N, capital N. And when you do all that, guess what's going to happen? You will be healthier, happier, and wealthier. And who doesn't want that? And utilize the 2 most powerful words in English language 3 times a day, consciously and conscientiously. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. As we say thank you to amazing Jay. And everything you want to know, just go to the website, barryshore.com. It's all there. And there's a lot there for you to become a fountain and a joint venture and creating that conscious community of choice and becoming a champion for the world. So our blessing to you is go forth, live exuberantly. Spread the seeds of joy, happiness, peace, and love. Go mad. Go make a difference.
Thank you, Barry.